Welcome to the Drawn Together studio, everyone. I hope you all enjoy. We're going to have lots of different artists through here. We're going to be having lots of awesome discussions and wonderful, in-depth, deep dives into all sorts of different questions that I've been asked. Welcome to Drawn Together. This is my brand new artist talk show. It's by artists, for artists, and pretty much everybody who has questions about the world of art. I get asked a lot of questions on my streams about the content that I make and how I run my art business, where I get things made, how I got into the world of art in general, business, and casually. So I decided that I wanted to make a accessible deep dives into all of these different questions that I've been asked, so that I have time to dedicatedly get into these topics. A lot of times when I'm answering questions on streams, I only have a couple minutes to sort of give all of the important details about where I find things, what programs I use, what techniques I use, what different manufacturers I use for my products and stuff like that. But I really wanted to be able to actually show the places that I get things from, talk about the process of having things manufactured, what you need, what you don't need, really cut through the noise that is the art world and the various suggestions that you're going to find online about what you should and shouldn't do. But of course, some of you all, especially people who are new here, who don't know me, might be asking, who is this and what qualifies this weird little stuffed animal on the internet to be giving out advice on all of these different topics? So you're right to be asking those questions. My name is Sky, or SkyTeaa, or the SkyTeaa, not a cow, plush dragon on the internet. And I've been an artist functioning as a business on the internet, kind of in general, for about 20 years. I've been doing art since I was a child. I come from a family of artists. Everybody does a little bit of something creative in my family. I've just decided to expand on it and make it an independent business. I was definitely one of those early 2000s deviant art artists. I've started and abandoned way too many art themed accounts on a variety of different websites in my time online, like Neopets, DeviantArt, Tumblr. Oh my gosh, Tumblr. I have started and abandoned way too many art accounts on Tumblr. But eventually that all landed me on my current SkyTeaa branding. The name that you know and love, or don't know for that matter, I actually found sophomore year of high school while I was flipping through an artistic calligraphy book, if you can believe it. I picked it up and the words Sky and T were written on adjacent pages. And I was like, damn, that would make a sick username. And you know what? All the people on Gaia Online would be so impressed by the fact that it was only 6 letters. Technically 7 now, because I did have to add a second A for branding purposes. And I know at this point, I've definitely triggered all of my elder millennials with these website name drops, because I was triggered writing them all down. Oh my gosh. I started, like a lot of young artists on the internet in the 2000s, trading my services for in-game currency for my favorite websites, primarily Gaia Online and Neopets. And that's what took my lifelong passion for drawing in general into the knowledge space that my artwork has value to other people in the world, which effectively jump-started my desire to start an actual art business. I spent 4 years in high school in an intensive magnet art program that was tailored for creating successful artists in the real world, producing and selling artwork. It put me through the most intensely ego-shattering critiques I've ever had in my life. It was commonplace for people to cry my freshman year of high school when we were having our artwork critiqued. And a lot of people dropped out. Like, people dropped the program pretty frequently because of how mean it felt. But that was because there was an intense application process getting in, and then they really only wanted people that were really committed to making art in the real world. The intensity of the critiques that I experienced, one, made me a much better artist and critiquer of my own art and of other people's artwork, but it also gave me the incredibly thick skin that I have and I need to functionally run my art business online. It is super important when you come into this space to never take anything personally, because people will just not like your stuff. And that's okay. It's okay for people to not like what you're making. And I really learned that in my 4 years of art college. The most important lesson I learned from art college was never compromising on my passion and my vision just to satisfy people who have very narrow, rigid views of what art should and shouldn't be. I had several teachers who just didn't like what I made. They told me that my art was too emotional, and even though I would follow the prompts that they gave me, it just didn't fit what they expected fine art to be. And that's okay. But I chose not to change and take lower grades in order to continue to develop my personal style. And I think that is genuinely the most important lesson that I learned. And it was an unintentional lesson. Technically during college, my deep love of like nerd culture and cosplay is actually what eventually led me into furry. I was doing research on YouTube about how to make wolf cosplays, and discovered the fursuit maker Beast Cub, who specializes in quad suits, and at the time had recently made a Wolf's Rain quad suit, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? And I dove in deep fast. I was probably like 18, 19 at the time when I got involved, and I was super excited because I basically found an entire community of people like me that didn't quite fit the expected norms and who built a fandom around original characters. This took me from casually trying to take commissions every now and then and thrust me fully into a world of commission work as consistent income. I was still working at the time, but was taking a lot more commissions and getting paid actual money to do them. I began attending conventions not too long after that, sitting in artist alleys, selling my artwork in art shows, several ways that I want to talk about starting your art business in the furry fandom. As I made more money from selling my originals, I was able to invest those into making products. And then the more products I made, the more money I could make and reinvest into my business without having to take time-consuming commissions constantly. Eventually, the convention work grew from sharing half a table in Artist Alley or just posting my art in an art show to needing my own dedicated table, which is when I transitioned from Artist Alley to Dealer's Den. And that transition now can be a little bit more difficult, but not unachievable. And we will definitely be spending an entire episode sort of talking about how to go about creating a portfolio and being noticed enough to make it into dealers' spaces versus Artist Alley. My convention work, like I said, grew quite a lot right up until we hit the pandemic. I was really enjoying the experience of hopping from convention to convention all year, getting to meet new people, doing artwork, seeing the look on someone's face when you do a piece of art for them at a convention and hand it directly to them is genuinely my favorite part of running my business. It's so satisfying. But the pandemic happened. So for the first year, I kept commission work up, but I realized that after transitioning from exclusively commission work to convention work, that I was quickly like burning out in an extreme way because I wasn't getting the social aspect of running my business anymore. And as an extroverted person, I realized that that was extremely important to me. So I spent about a year doing back-to-back commissions, was super grateful to everybody who supported me, but ended up having to shut down my business, at least for the time being. I couldn't make the deadlines and meet the speed that I really needed to and that people expected from me at that time. And instead I started looking for a new creative outlet, which is what led me to hyperfixating on MCYT. If you don't know what MCYT is, it's Minecraft YouTube. A whole bunch of idiots playing Minecraft together and role-playing. And I ate that shit up. And it's had its ups and downs since then. We don't really need to get too deep into that. But my hyperfixation led me to creating a ton of TikTok content and keeping an aggressively consistent posting schedule, which is what led me to the most explosive amount of growth I've ever had on social media. I had never taken my social media super seriously before. A lot of my convention work was more word of mouth than anything. Going to events, you will inevitably get commissions because when you go to conventions, people are looking to make purchases. So it's a self-fulfilling cycle. But without that, things became a lot more difficult. I ended up growing my TikTok from, like a couple thousand people maybe to over 60,000 people in the span of a few months, I think. I will definitely get into my most accurate statistics at a later date when we get into how tips and tricks for growing as an artist online. I'm not a professional by any, well, you know what? I guess I am technically a professional. I don't professionally give advice, but I guess I am a professional in that I professionally am an artist on the internet. That growth is actually what led me to streaming. So I wanted to do something to connect with the audience that I had built on my TikTok more personally, because everybody that was coming to my page all kind of shared the same love and hyperfixation that I did. And all of the people whose content I was consuming at the time were on Twitch. So I decided that I was going to pick up Twitch and start streaming myself. 5 years later, today, I'm learning to balance my streaming and my in-person conventions. I've produced dozens of different products with as many different manufacturers, and I can say it's definitely easy to get overwhelmed in the vast space that is online art. I'm not among the biggest, most well-known artists on the internet, but that's okay. I believe that knowledge is meant to be shared, and in the wake of the monster that is fucking generative AI, YouTube's not gonna love that. All artists and art-minded people need to band together to support one another. That's me. That's my credentials. That's my experience summed up into a quick, 20 minutes. And that's what this show is meant to be about. Specifically, artists banding together to support one another, or people who are interested in supporting artists in general. This show is me using the platform that I've built over the last 5 years to uplift other artists. The beauty of being an artist is that it's so easy to be surrounded by incredibly talented people that deserve more eyes on their work. Along with using my own personal knowledge on art and working as an artist, I want to introduce you all to a bunch of other artists that have their own sets of knowledge and experience. I have so many friends who do things completely differently from me, and we all run businesses to different varying levels of success. And hearing from people just starting out or struggling with conventions, changing how they're making stuff, making things, hand making things versus having things manufactured, you name it, we're gonna cover it, okay? I hope that we can create a community of artists that will support other artists, bringing new eyes to small passion projects that would have otherwise flown under the radar. I want to talk shop with artists that have managed to grow their business and hear firsthand what it takes to get to that point. Ideally, like I said, we're going to cover artists of all different sizes doing different things. Producing things in different ways. I hope that you guys will be interested in supporting those artists. I have people lined up that are running Patreons, which is not something that I personally do. So I'm interested to talk shop on that topic, how people advertise. We're gonna cover sticker clubs and mail businesses, all sorts of different stuff, shipping in general. Boy, howdy, that's a beast. That's a beast I could probably spend a whole episode just talking about. But the important thing to remember is that there's no right or wrong way to build a business around your artwork. Because the first piece of advice that I always give to anyone wanting to start their art business is to build it around something that you love. And we're never, ever going to say that corny capitalist bullshit. If you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, because that's just simply not true. It is very easy to do something you love every single day and still end up burnt out, because I've experienced it. I love doing artwork, but that doesn't mean that it's not exhausting. And so learning and understanding how to balance the love of creativity with the marketing aspects of running a business is a very fine line. And you never want to get to the point where you completely suck the love out of your business, because then you're just it's going to end up failing, or you're going to end up wanting to abandon the thing that you love, which can be absolutely devastating in and of itself. As someone who has made that transition before, it's really hard. The main thing that you want to focus on is your connection with your own artwork. There are lots of really great examples of artists who have created their businesses and made these awesome, thriving empires. out of artwork that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be mainstream, I guess. And I can't wait to get into an in-depth deep dive on the people who I think are amazing examples of that. People who consume your artwork can feel your connection, your passion, and your love for the subject matter that you draw is obvious in everything that you draw. And that's the most important part of building a business. It's why I built my business around all things soft pastel and plushie, because I love stuffed animals. I have loved them since I was a child, and I continue to love them to this day. I think they are one of the coolest mediums that exists. And the art of products is largely undervalued. It's important, like I said, that what you make is something that you are truly proud of and that you genuinely love with all of your heart, because it will be easy for people to tell. The people who patronize your business may not even really realize it, but we, as human beings, can't help but be drawn to passion. It is genuinely infectious, and finding and building on that unique voice, that thing that brings you back to art every single time, will build a group of people who love the uniqueness that your art brings to the world. And let me be clear, finding your voice and your passion is not the same as finding a niche. Because a lot of artists will tell you, oh, you need to find a niche to fill, like something that is underrepresented. And while it is true that finding a niche is important, you want that niche to be something that you genuinely love, not just something that you think you can make money at. Because the people who are genuinely passionate about that niche will know if you are or are not a huge fan of it. We're going to touch on both the passion and hardship of being an artist in this series. I've already talked a little bit about burnout, and I do want to have an entire episode where we discuss what can cause burnout and strategies that I employ to try and recover from burnout. To some extent, you can only recover from burnout over time, but there are things that I do to reconnect with my artwork that I think are tips that could help you all as well. So we're gonna have full episodes about burnout and reconnecting with your artwork, feeling disconnected, and the struggles that come with that mental state. Because the quiet killers of creativity are sort of born out of having unlimited access to artists from across the globe. Social media is a bit of a blessing and a curse, because it's so easy to compare yourself to other people, your journey, your process, whether your work is as good as somebody else's. Imposter syndrome is absolutely rampant in the art community. But the most important thing you have to consider when you are starting an art business, when you are creating it and continuing it, is that your art has an audience. All art has an audience. And you just have to find yours. One artist audience is not going to necessarily be the same audience as yours. And comparison can absolutely be the thief of joy in your artwork. So make sure that when you are using the internet, when you're using social media, when you're consuming this kind of content, other artists' content, it's important to remember that everybody starts somewhere, and some people are going to have an easier time finding their audience. but that doesn't mean that you are not capable or that your artwork and you are never going to find your specific audience. I feel like I've said the word audience like 8,000 times. It doesn't have meaning anymore. It's fine. Every artist's journey is distinctly unique. Every artist's journey is as unique as the artist making it. But my hope is that this show and the people that I bring on to talk about their experiences, their struggles, their joy is going to help some of you all gain experience and gain new perspective. There should never be a space for comparison. I want it to be a space for learning, for taking what you can use and what you do need from here and not comparing yourself or trying to emulate exactly anybody's specific way of doing things. If you aren't an artist, or you're just starting in your artistic field, I really hope that you will still be able to find parts of this series that resonate with you, specifically our non-artists or people who are just interested in supporting other art or supporting artists, whether it be the artist in your life or just the people around you. I appreciate you guys so much for being here, for watching and sharing and supporting the artistic people in your life, whether you are one of those artistic people or whether you're just here to try and help somebody else. I appreciate you very much. We've already kind of gone over a couple of the episodes that I want to incorporate into this series. I am going to be open for suggestions as well. I will be looking at comments. If people have specific topics that they want me to cover, I would love to see them commented on whatever platform you might be consuming this on. If you're seeing clips, if you're seeing the full video, if you're seeing the VOD, if you're seeing the stream, I would love to hear from you all. We're gonna be, just for a couple of the various things that I'm gonna be covering from my extensive list of episodes that I want to do, we are going to be having an 8 avatars under $200. I get a lot of questions about VTubing in general and how expensive it can be to get into this space. I'm going to be creating a video where we're going to be covering different artists that you can commission for completely customized models for under $200. A lot of these can be a little silly and unique, but you need a lot of silliness and uniqueness to catch attention early on in your streaming career. We're also going to be having some artist interviews, like I talked about. A couple of the people that I know have already said absolutely they would love to come on are Olive Jess, who was here earlier, who is working on a webcomic, runs a Patreon to support that webcomic. So we're going to get to talk to her about her comic and what led her to starting it, how she's ended up here and where she wants to go in the future. We're going to be having Spunky Raccoon at some point, who is a fellow artist and Twitch streamer who works in the convention space just like I do. Lib or Liberty, who runs their own sticker club, monthly sticker club that you can subscribe to and hand makes all of their stickers instead of having them manufactured. So I'd love to get into talking to them about all of the products that they use to support their business. So many different people. I have a list of different things that I'd like to cover. And then we'll have a bunch of individual, just me yapping away to you guys episodes. I think that pretty much covers the entire first episode. I know this one's gonna be a little bit shorter, and I expect that episodes that include other people are going to be exceptionally longer. Because if there's one thing I know, it's that I cannot stop yapping when I have another person to yap to. So it should be a wonderful time. I hope that you guys continue to follow. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload. And I appreciate you guys very much for being here. Don't forget to comment what you'd like to see in future episodes. If I haven't covered a topic that you would like to hear about, make sure that you leave it in the comments and I will definitely add it to my list. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thanks for listening. I appreciate you all. And keep making art.